blood, in my belly, I can feel we are ready. In my blood, in my belly, I can feel we are ready. Prepared for these times, I know, in my bones.
Let's give it up for the JVP Seattle Family Band. I love you guys. That's my home chapter, so my home family band. What a 4 days we've had. Oh my God. Wow. You guys, wow. I feel like it's been, do you feel this way? Do you feel like it's been this whole world that we like co-created and got to just dip into and live in briefly together? It's been so beautiful. I have really felt us just moving toward an understanding and an actual embodiment of what our most powerful contribution to the fight for a free Palestine and for Judaism beyond Zionism and against fascism would look like and would feel like for us, right? And I felt us leaning into our relationships and our grief and rage, our joy, our connection, just the full range of our emotion and all of the complexity. I have just seen everybody show up with an incredible generosity of spirit and self, and I've been really honestly just, I mean, you won't be surprised, but profoundly moved. I know that's what I say all the time, but I mean it this time. We've had just like 90 incredible workshops. Yes. 4 out of 5 plenaries, so still a little bit to go. A beautiful Shabbat together with all kinds of different forms of observance or non-observance. A beautiful time, a film screening, an art build, a night of performances, local strategy sessions, networks, meetups, prayer and reflection and dancing and singing and being with friends that are old and brand new. Last night we had an incredible evening. It was really special. I do want to take just a moment to acknowledge something from last night, which is that without context or warning, there was some language about pretty shocking sexual violence, and a number of people let us know that they were negatively impacted. And I just want to say from up here that I'm really sorry to those of you who felt impacted by that. And in the future, we're going to do a better job to make sure that we're more thoughtful and intentional in how we set up and frame our offerings. And I just wanted to offer that. Yeah. Another thing that happened last night was that we happened to raise $60,000 for Gaza for Mecca. $60,000 from this little QR code, which I am extremely proud of us all for. And maybe some of you were all not at the performance night, had other pressing business to attend to, I've heard. If you weren't there, now's the time. And we got to 60K, and I don't see a single reason in the world why we can't get to $100,000. Do you see a reason? I don't see a reason. I see every reason in the world why we should get to $100,000. So I want you to take a minute and take out your phones and text somebody in your life who you think could also give. Give a little more if you felt like, you know what, I could have given, you got home and you were like, that was so fun when we raised $60,000. Maybe I could have given $25 more. Give it now. Do that now. So please go there. Let's get this to $100,000. We'll report back on the post-event email. And our community is bigger than here. So write your chapter. Say, join us in this. We just did this last night, but this community is way bigger than the 2,000 people who were here last night. So let's get it bigger, and let's get that money to Mecca to ensure that Palestinians can live on their land in Gaza in spite of this genocidal campaign of ethnic cleansing. It's been, on that note, 2 months since a single drop of food has made it into Gaza, since any supply has crossed in. More than 3,500 children below the age of 5 years old face imminent starvation imminent death by starvation. 3,500 children. Some 70,000 children are experiencing severe malnutrition, and 57 Palestinians have starved to death in the last few days. It's impossible. None of that has all efforts to convince Israel to allow any food in have failed. The news is not paying attention to what's going on. There's a total blackout. There's literally millions of people starving to death, and no one's talking about it. And Israel's preparing for a increase of troops for further acceleration of the genocide. Shame. Disabled people and children and infants and pregnant and breastfeeding people are suffering and going to die the quickest. We don't talk about it here a lot, but it's after a few weeks of severe malnutrition that you can't really reverse the effects. Digestion becomes a lot more difficult. Your body slows down, your kidney failure sets in, and your belly swell with fluids until you die. How many of us grew up on knowledge of Hitler's hunger plan, right? The intentionally starved people under Nazi occupation with the fewest calories going to Jews. I know and love, I'm sure many people know and love in this audience, Holocaust survivors who maybe even made it through that campaign of starvation and annihilation and still bear the psychological and physiological scars, osteoporosis, cancer, food hoarding, their whole lives. These are generations of harm. I can't stop thinking about the 22 babies that Dr. Ahmed told us about on the first day in Egypt, managed to get out, no parents, they're toddlers now. All these babies, all these human beings, all these people starving to death. We have spent this weekend getting really clear, and I feel it between us, that we're getting clearer about how do we build the people power that we need, how do we sharpen our ideas about how to deploy that power under so much uncertainty, how do we transform our conditions over time. We're organizers, we're committed to the long haul, we know the fight and the struggle takes time and takes years. And before we leave here, I need us to feel our feet on the ground and remember that there is unbelievable urgency in this particular moment. Every single day, every single minute is counting in a true life or death way. And I had some really beautifully urgent conversations last night with some of our beloved Palestinian partners who are here and came to us to say this, we need to together as a movement take this on. We need to pierce through the kind of silencing and the way that people are somehow expecting us to normalize the fact that our families are starving to death right now. So we're gonna work together to build a plan for how do we really mobilize in a way that pierces through and creates the intervention needing. We're gonna do that, and so be with us in that, stay tuned. We are going to say in our action, in our voices, we're gonna ensure that it pierces through, stop starving Gaza. That's right, so let's say it together. Stop starving Gaza. Stop starving Gaza. Stop starving Gaza. So we'll move out of this space into action. We're here to be shored up for the action that moves us from here and in deepened commitment. And I'm so grateful that I've seen us all root into that commitment. I feel it, I see it from each of you that we were able to do that in this space. And I just, as an organizer, we need to remember that that doesn't happen without a ton of labor and love and organizing support. So I want us to take a moment to thank the many hands that made this possible. That's right. There were everybody take it in. There were countless, innumerable, I'm not asking you to stop clapping, I'm just gonna ask for more claps in a second here, so we're gonna move into the more claps part. So keep it moving, get ready to clap again, I'm just preparing you. Okay, so there were so many, every JVP staff member, innumerable JVP chapter and pod and network leaders who did infinite, unseen, amazing work to get us here. Too many to name, but I do wanna name a few really critical folks without whom this just simply could not have happened. We had beautiful religious programming coordination by Rabbi Noah Rubin-Blos. Thank you, Rabbi Noah. Thank you so much. Such gorgeous space together that way. We have all of the gorgeous, beautiful design work that sort of created the container. Our amazing graphic designer, Lena, did for us to bring us into the space visually and in an embodied way. And the chapters who brought their beautiful banners that are you feel the love and the action in them. And the amazing, amazing graphic recording that we have had all weekend that is just so stunning. These are the things that help us be with where we are and buffer us and allow us to be in this container. I want to take a minute to talk about Yi Schwartz, Tali Ben Daniel, and Adnan Syed. Stand up. I'm sorry. Adnan, I don't see where you are. Adnan also should stand up wherever he's troubleshooting something. I love you guys. They saw nothing of anything except for holding this entire giant mountain on their shoulders. We love you so, so fucking much. Thank you both. Take it in, we love you. And she's gonna hate me, but Elena Stein, you have to stand up now. I'm your boss. Overall program coordination. Take it in. You make other people take it in all the time. You got to. This beautiful program This organizing school that would be like a year's worth of organizing school in a weekend for everybody. And as part of that, the beautiful workshop team, if you all could rise in the way that you're comfortable, I want to thank Esther Jarvis-Polide, Zach Kopkin, MJ McClure, Tema Okun, CP Prince Jordan, and Leslie Williams. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. 90 workshops. Unbelievable. I want to ask our security team, who's busy keeping us secure right this minute, Iman and Paige and Mickey and Pilar and the Meta Team Project. It was extraordinary. Movement, values aligned, rigorous safety in a moment of incredible threat to allow us to do the work we need to do to keep fighting in that environment while not running to the state that's the one trying to murder everybody. It doesn't work, it turns out. Y'all, it just was extraordinary to witness and to be held by. Thank you. Our incredible access team at Embraced Body, who did so much in so many ways to ensure that we had the necessary participation of our everybody in this space. We needed every single person, especially our sick and disabled comrades. Thank you. Our production team, Kevin and Maria and Matt and Mark and Jay and Rachel and Max. You guys, how would I even know how to turn the mic on? And you have no idea, like literally tens of thousands of details in such beautiful, beautiful, caring holding. Thank you. We had an amazing, there was a whole other conference, I don't know if you all heard, but the actually cool thing that happened was a children's membership meeting. The child care programming led by Leora Ostroff and team was beyond. We got the next ones coming, you guys. We can rest. We can rest, not yet. But they're coming. We did our best. And I just want to thank all of JVP staff. I want to give a particular shout out to the JVP union. So grateful. It is an enormous blessing to be in a unionized workplace where our workers have collective power to ensure it's the healthiest place for all of us and who show up with enormous rigor for the work every single day. I thank you and I love you and I'm so grateful, including union leadership over there doing 1,000 things right now. And to the hotel staff and BCC staff, we thank you so much for your labor as well. Thank you. It's good to remember what it takes to do shit together. It takes some real work and a lot of love, and then you do amazing things. Turns out so many people have so many beautiful gifts to offer. And that is a good reminder and a good segue to our final plenary topic, because we're here to close our time by talking about steadfastness in the face of repression. And I want to just have us remember that huge long time of clapping for all the people that it took to put on a beautiful weekend of living into our commitments and the values in the world we want to be in. We're going to just keep on pulling forward all of our skills and our love and our understandings to be able to move through this time. But it is a time. And we can't start this conversation without first grounding in the depth of understanding that in Gaza and increasingly in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem, the stakes of refusing to be ethnically cleansed off your land are death. And throughout the entirety of Palestine and Israel, the stakes of even trying to document, let alone protest human rights abuses, no matter your identity, is to be criminalized, shut down, raided, imprisoned. From the very founding of the state of Israel, There is not one form of Palestinian resistance to decades of occupation, apartheid, and genocide that has not been brutally repressed, from BDS to writing of poetry. So when Mahmoud Khalil wrote from ICE detention, he said, being Palestinian is an experience that transcends borders. He talked about Omar Khatib, who was incarcerated without charge by Israel as he returned home from travel, and Dr. Hussam Abu Sufia, who was taken captive by the Israeli military in December and remains in Israeli torture camp right now, right this second. For Palestinians, he said, imprisonment without due process is just a way of life, it's commonplace. And on the first day of our time here together, my comrade and beloved friend Iran told us that Israel is the past and the future of the US. It's strikingly evident in the flow of fascist repression from here, from the US to Israel and back. Let's be clear that the US needs no lessons on the use of imprisonment and deportation and mass violence to maintain racist oppression. That's baked into every single nook and cranny of our history. And many of those examples have led the way and the blueprint for Israel's oppression and repression of Palestinians. And also, the US's literal investment in Israeli apartheid and genocide always flows back into the new technologies, tactics, approaches of brutal rule by force. As Noura Erakat reminded us, Palestinians must be centered, both because Palestinians must be centered. Full stop, end of sentence. And also because they have always been the guinea pigs. And at no time has this been more clear than in the repression of the movement for Palestinian freedom in the past 2 years. Students are being abducted off the street and from their homes and threatened with deportation. Mobs of militarized police have been beating protesters. FBI agents are breaking down doors. We know that this fascist regime is coming for us, and we know that the attacks against this movement and other movements and communities feed one another. They sharpen the tools on some of us so that they can then use them in all the different directions. And we see how attacks on each community does that. So, right, like the attacks that are happening on the lives and dignity and rights of trans people tessellate into attacks on bodily autonomy for all people. We see how attacks on climate protests are designed to keep anyone from protest or dissent. And the same is true for attacks on Palestinians and the Palestine solidarity movement. It's scary, right? Do you feel scared? It's okay to feel scared. It's a safe place to say it. But we stay clear on what's happening and why it's happening. So look around. It's a really powerful room. This room is a threat to forces of violent status quo. This is a threat to the systems of death production. And we're a testament to precisely why they want to criminalize the ability of people to gather in any way to work for a better world. Look at what can happen when you get together for a few ways to gather to figure out how to make a better world. So we're a threat. So I want to be honest with you and clear that JVP is among the many formations in the crosshairs of these attacks. They're already slandering us. They've testified in Congress with their ridiculous libel. Their little Project Esther's like to name us. They have an army of law firms and, almost all of whom are connected to the Trump administration, filing every piece of litigation that they can. And it's going to escalate. We really have a commitment to staying honest with one another and being rooted in what is so that those assessments can inform our ability to continue to struggle. So we don't need to look away from the fact that it's bad and getting worse. We should be real about that. And we don't need to hide from the fact that there's a lot they can take from us. There is a lot of chatter and preparation and talking about stripping orgs of C3 status is one of the things they can take. So I want to just take a minute to talk about that. which, listen, we know from the brilliant analysis of Insight, the Women of Color Against Violence, in their seminal text, The Revolution Will Not Be Funded. If you haven't read it, it's brilliant, and it's foundational. That we know nonprofit status was created as a way for the state to capture, control, and redirect the energy and momentum of social movements that were designed to change the status quo. Yeah. Like, woo for the movements, right? We know movements existed long before 1954 when the C3 was written into the tax code. So we understand that we should never be like abstractly fighting about saving C3 status as like the thing we're marching about. But we're also real clear. The Trump administration is using the threat of action and the potential action around revocation of tax status as one tool to try to shutter civil society as a whole. So we would fight any such attempt, not just because of the substance of that attack, but because of the momentum and the direction and the intention behind it. The right understands, as Laura was telling us so brilliantly on the base building panel, the Build to Fight panel, that organization is powerful. It's how we take the relationships, gorgeous relationships, and put them together and put them on the move with one another. And they sure as hell are going to try to shutter every mechanism and avenue for that kind of organizational building in a civil society that wants to end fascist rule, right? So it's first C3 status, then our right to protest, then our ability to gather, and on, because fascists rely on a slippery slope approach of testing what's possible to do, and then in order to expand the boundaries of what they are able to. And a lot they will be able to do. They will likely succeed in breaking down some of the infrastructure JVP and other orgs have built with a lot of care. They could freeze our bank accounts, they could deplatform us from social media, they could smear us, they could criminalize or deport us, they could put some of us in jail. It could take a lot. Let's take a deep breath. I need it. You might not. So if we're clear about the things they can take from us, let's also get real clear about what they can't if we do it right. Right? Not if we stay focused. I want to ask for a little image on the screen. This is like what's on the front of my camera phone. I took this picture when I was on a walk with my 7-year-old a few months back. I was feeling a lot of the what can they take from us category that I was just talking about. And we were out in the forest, and you should know for this story that my kid's like a little tiny mansplainer. He's just beautiful, but he really thinks I don't know shit. So it's okay. There's a lot I don't know. It turns out he's really clear about it. You should be too. Don't know your leaders don't know that much. Okay, so we're walking through an old growth forest near my home, and we see this. This is a nurse log. Do y'all know what a nurse log is? Yeah. And he's like, Mama, I'll tell you what a nurse log is. Great. It's a tree that's fallen, but it's a nursery for new growth. It offers shade. It offers easy nutrients and water and protection for all those little baby seedlings trying to make their way in a crowded forest. It's the literal lifeblood of the forest system to stay growing. I love this organization. I've been here 16 years. I love you guys. I love what we're doing. I love what we could do together if we got even bigger and bolder. Let's keep doing that. And I believe in the health and function of this organization. We're not perfect, far, far from it, but we are thriving, we are living, we are growing every single day. And I love this movement, what it means to be inside of a bigger home, the absolute blessing that we get to grow alongside and intertwined across identity, across issue of which part of this precious world we're fighting for. I just need us to take a second and look around and remember that this organization and this movement is an old growth forest. You cannot stop a forest from growing. You can't. So when I get scared, I just want to give you that image to take with you. It's like literally my little screenshot because I think about the tree. And that, when I think about the tree, I get a lot less confused. Because the questions don't become like, what's the move the IRS is going to make to da-da-da-da-da? It's like, what can I do to water the soil? What do I do to tend the health and the substance of our organizing? How do I ensure that whatever they do take, we're nurturing this movement forward? What do I do to ensure that the soil is rich for more growth of the movement for Palestinian freedom and Judaism beyond Zionism and justice for everybody? What am I doing today? How can we be certain that the trunk and the roots of every organization are as healthy as possible, growing and spurring new generations of growth? That's it. That's the assignment. What do I do today so that tomorrow the movement is stronger and more rooted? When that's the question, our assignment is very simple. Listen, it's a few things, and then I want to get to this amazing panel. Here's the lessons. Solidarity and survival, they're synonyms right now. There's no way, and there wouldn't be a way, and we wouldn't ever take a way to protect JVP, but throw any other person or organization under the bus? Absolutely fucking not. So it's never, will they come for me or you? It's instead, they're going to come through me to get to you. Say it with me. They're going to have to come through me to get to you. They're going to have to come through me to get to you. We defend and protect each other no matter what. We're what we have. We protect our relationships at all costs. They're not going to sow their discord and mistrust. Come at us. We got it. We got each other. Keep taking risks. That's the next lesson. We're going to be bolder. We're going to be bigger than ever. We stay focused on our goals. If we're in defense mode, it must absolutely be a form of offense to advance our fights against fascism and genocide. Full stop. Those are a couple learnings I have, but what I mostly want you to listen to is the amazing panelists I'm about to bring out. So let us get in formation. We're gonna learn from these incredible, incredible leaders, luminaries, about how we ensure those roots are as strong as they can be as these winds get higher. Okay, I wanna welcome up our gorgeous plenary. Come on out, you guys. We have here Congresswoman Cori Bush, Linda Sarsour, Barbara Ransby, Dima Khalidi, and Harlow Ray. It's exciting. I'm excited. Okay. Dima, I'm going to come first to you. Dima, if you all don't know, is the leader of our unbelievably invaluable Palestine Legal. Without whom we simply would not be here. Palestine Legal has been on the absolute front lines of defense and protection of the movement for Palestine liberation for 13 years, providing legal advice and know your rights trainings and advocacy and analysis and litigation support and on at a scale that's unbelievable it's just unbelievable. It's amazing. And you're the intrepid leader. And you carry us all, and you do so much for us, Dima, and I don't understand, really. She's always really calm about it. And I really think you probably have the sharpest and clearest understanding, maybe of anyone, of how the authoritarian playbook has been deployed and sharpened by attacks on Palestinian freedom organizing. And so I really would love it if you could give us an overview of the landscape as you see it now. You know, I want to hear what you think when you look at this overall pattern of repression against those who speak out for Palestinian freedom. What do you want us to understand and what feels most significant from your eyes? And you also have a very, very clear-eyed understanding. It's one of the things I think is incredible about you as you wield the law so incredibly fiercely to protect the movement. You also are the first to understand the limits of the courts and to tell us and teach us that. And so I want to have an understanding of that as a community too. Lots of questions, but you know a lot, so I'm sorry.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's really an honor to be here among all of you, and wow, this is amazing. And really appreciate you and your leadership as well, and all of the work that went into bringing everybody here together. It is such a supremely organized space, and it is an act of resistance just to be here, really, despite the fear and the intimidation, right? This is what they're trying to prevent, as you said, right? I think the first thing I'll say, echoing, you know, what you shared earlier, is that, you know, among the Palestinians here, when we are just creating spaces where we are able to sit together and strategize and organize and vision, right? But first and foremost, what we talked about was our family back home and the visible starvation that is happening by the minute. And so really just grounding ourselves in this moment, this phase of this genocide, that they have tried to take our eyes off of, right? And this is the intent of the repression. It's to distract us. It's to make us so scared that we forget what we're moving for, right? And it feels like they've been successful in a way. I mean, since the ceasefire, all eyes have been turned here. Since Trump got elected, all eyes have been turned internally. And since Mahmoud was abducted, and Rumeisa and Mohsen and so many others after that, we have been out in the streets. People have been out in the streets fighting for their freedom and to stop this this violence. And that's when the starvation sets in, right? That's when they say nobody's paying attention anymore, and we can complete what we started. So the urgency, again, I think is really critical to emphasize that we have to, every day, every moment, be thinking about what we can do. So thank you for really refocusing us on this urgent moment. I think the repression in general, and you know, what we've been saying since certainly the beginning of the genocide is that when we saw just this enormous spike in repression, right? The very visible attacks on the encampments, violent attacks on the encampments, but in the many months before that and the many months since, the repression has been unprecedented. And certainly what we said after October 7th is that none of this is new, right? None of the tactics that we've seen since then are new. Not the law enforcement repression, not the anti-Semitism accusations, not the smear campaigns and the doxing, not the lawsuits that are, attacking the right to protest, but also accusing groups of supporting terrorism, right? Not the legislation, anti-protest legislation, right? So the ground has been set over many years and decades even to get us to this moment. And it has laid the stage for Trump, right, to enact the MAGA agenda, the right-wing Christian nationalist agendas that he is bearing. So that is, we know the playbook. And obviously, since January, things have escalated to even more unprecedented levels, and we are facing real and serious threats to individuals and groups and everything. And we have to contend with that. And I think one of the important things that is the difference, I think, right? And what we've seen in the last year and a half is the level of surveillance, of the use of AI, of the use of all of these things against students, right? The way that they are, they use Wi-Fi and passcodes and facial recognition, not only to select targets in Gaza, right? But to identify their own students, to share that information with law enforcement, right? So all of this was happening pre-January, and the universities had already completely capitulated to the pressure campaigns, to the elected officials and the trustees and the donors. And so what we're seeing now is that these universities, these institutions, I mean, the number of people who have gotten, I'm sure many of you have been impacted, who have been fired, who have had employment consequences for speaking out, it's tremendous, hundreds and hundreds of people. And these institutions are now in a place where, they have been seasoned to see us as a threat, to call us anti-Semitic and pro-terrorist. And those are the two pillars of the repression, really, anti-Semitism and terrorism. And in my view, we have to really tackle them both. And there's been a lot of talk here about how we dismantle the conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, which is absolutely crucial to anything we do here, because it is the way that all of our rights are being undermined, free speech rights, academic freedom rights, and it sets the stage as well for the anti-DEI, anti-CRT, critical race theory attacks as well, right? Where our advocacy, our speech, our political ideologies and values are labeled in ways that abuse anti-discrimination laws, in effect, right? Everything is now anti-white racism if we talk about the history of race in this country. In the same way, it's the same logic, right? Everything is anti-Semitic if we criticize Israel. And I think the other thing to say about this is really that it's anti-Palestinian. Yes. And that's what I want to emphasize, right? This is about the complete dehumanization of Palestinians. We are not allowed, we are not seen, we are not allowed to narrate our own histories or experiences because they are labeled as offensive, right, to others. And if we don't forefront that, if we don't really name that this is about anti-Palestinian racism. This is about enabling a genocide, right? That is the only way that hundreds of thousands of people are being starved, millions are being starved to death right now, right? That is the only way. So not only should you all talk about the way that that distorts Judaism itself, but also that it is founded in a deep anti-Palestinian racism. And I want to thank you. And on the terrorism issue, I think it's also critical that we break the fear around this and really start talking about how this entire regime, this anti-terrorism regime, was developed in order to undermine Palestinian resistance, to criminalize Palestinian resistance. And I urge you to read a report that we published with CCR on this that really explains the history of the development of this legal regime, right? Every episode of Palestinian resistance, there was a development in anti-terrorism laws. And it has been used, built in order to go after us. And first it was, certain kinds of acts, right? And then it was humanitarian aid. And now it's advocacy that they're going after, right? So organizing is terrorism. BDS is terrorism, in the same way that they're using terrorism to go after other movements, right? And it is anti-terrorism laws that have enabled the complete dismantling of civil liberties, right? Post 9/11, certainly we all know this, but before then and since then as well. So it is really imperative that we tackle this and challenge this entire legal regime which has the intent of criminalizing everything that we do. The courts, should I keep going or?
I'd say just like a couple words about the courts.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Well, I don't imagine anyone in this room believes the courts are going to save us or that the law is going to save us, because it won't. And the law is a tool of the powerful and is made and enforced for the powerful. And the courts right now are certainly a critical part of our effort to block the Trump agenda. And they are working in some instances. They are not working in all instances to do that. But that it is a critical element of the fight right now, to not just preserve our liberties. What we have to be thinking about is how we fight for more, right? It's not just free speech that we want, right? It's not just the right to be a white supremacist or to say racist things. It is, the moral obligation that we have, right, to be anti-genocide and to talk about the racist history of this country. So thinking about really what beyond what we have taken for granted in terms of free speech, et cetera, and that now is, being, that has been really slowly eroded over many years. Anti-discrimination laws have been slowly eroded over many years. The right has been fighting to erode them since the Civil Rights Acts were passed, right? So we're at a moment where we have to question the fundamental utility of these legal principles, but in the meantime, they are really critical tools to protect our people. And that's what we're doing. And while we're in the courts fighting those fights, it doesn't mean we have to stop and rely on that to do the work, right? All of you in the streets and in our communities and neighborhoods and schools, that is the critical work, right? Because what happens in a courtroom won't get any attention or won't make any difference if we're not out in the streets pushing for what we're trying to do here.
Thank you so much, Dima. Incredible. Just, right? It's amazing. Thank you. And on that note of continuing to be in action and in the streets, obviously we want to think about the phenomenal student protesters and organizers. And we're really, really lucky to have Harlow Ray here, a student from USC, a JVP chapter leader from USC. Harlow, your organizing has been really, really both like a very powerful example for all of us in this room. And I want to hear from you about what it's like on campuses. You've been organizing brilliantly there, and the repression is so intense. I wanna hear from you, like personally, what you have learned about staying as bold and committed as you have in the face of all that. It's so much.
Right. So being a student for me sucks. USC is the devil. Our board of trustees, we have Miriam Adelson on our board of trustees.
Shit.
I did not know that.
I feel like USC is like the second most shameful organization I've been part of, second to like the IOF as a, I was born and raised as a Jewish occupier and colonized Palestine or colonial apartheid Israel. So every day that I go to school, I think about where this money goes. And there's so much money there. And this money goes for killing. This money goes for harm. And I didn't, when I decided to leave the land, the birthland, I didn't have as much political knowledge as I do now, but I did know that I had to get out of there. I was like, I should not, something here stinks, I should not be here. But I didn't know that by moving to the United States, I'm still going to be complicit in these actions through my tax dollars, through being a part of these harmful organizations. So I thought that I was escaping, but really I wasn't. I'm still in this same place. So for me, being bold, I don't feel like I'm being bold. I feel like I'm being the only way that I could possibly be. I don't think that I could live with myself if I were not to continue do whatever it is that's in my power to do. If it's as a Jewish person who's a descendant of Holocaust victims, my great-grandmother's entire family was erased in Lithuania. And I guess that maybe that's the only thing about the Israeli education system that, you know, Holocaust, 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 Holocaust. I'm seeing Holocaust. So I have to speak up. And I think also in terms of Trump and everything that's going on and this sort of escalation within the United States, we have to, as things escalate, we have to escalate. One of the main things that I've been thinking about lately is the importance of emotion. We are taught in our society to control and manage how we feel, especially when it comes to negative emotions. And I've been reflecting a lot about, I guess, shame and guilt of being Israeli, being someone who was a part of this oppressive, disgusting system. And I think that I realized that instead of attempting to control how I feel and manage how I feel and repress how I feel, I need to treat it as an internal call for action. And everything that's happening right now, this escalation, it generates emotion, it generates rage. So we need to use this rage to continue to fight, use our own individual powers, and use our power also as a community to organize and create change. Because we have to. We are all on the line. Oppression is a domino effect, and we are seeing our Palestinian loved ones in Gaza. We are all intertwined. Like, their pain is my pain. And many times, family members, people, they tell me that I'm betraying my people. Nah. My people will forever be the oppressed, never the oppressor. So I think that we're all here because we feel like we must, and therefore we'll continue.
That's right. Okay. Harlow, thank you. Beautiful. Whew. Okay. Thank you, Harlow. Dr. Barbara Ransby. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to surprise you with that. Barbara, you have spent decades studying, writing, teaching, practicing, organizing, and convening our movements for freedom. I've never told you this, Barbara, but I read your essential text on Ella Baker and the Black Freedom Movement in 2003 when it came out. I was in college. And that book is the reason I decided to become an organizer. So I take your opinion very seriously. You have a very deep and grounded perspective on the current left, on movements across time, history, geography. And so I want you to help us understand, if you can, and I know you can, and contextualize these attacks against Palestinian freedom movement in a wider view. Help us also, if you can, think of ourselves as organizers in this moment, in spite of the overwhelm. What do you think might be getting in our way, and how might we need to grow to be who we need to be in this moment?
Now I'm ready.
Fine.
Thank you, Stephanie. I was startled because I thought we were in a different order.
I'm sorry.
I am prepared. Yeah, thank you for those lovely words. And hello, JVP family. You look good. You look good to me. After 3+ days together, I hope you're feeling powerful and full and fortified and emboldened. I hope you're feeling confident that you're standing on the right side of history, and you have some pretty amazing and courageous people standing there with you. I have some pretty amazing and courageous people with me on the stage today. All of this makes me know that together we can and will move the needle on freedom. So in response to Stephanie's question, I outlined my remarks because I don't want to talk too much, because there's so much to say, and I've learned so much since I've been here. I want to offer several observations that help us kind of distill some of what we've been taking in over the last few days and hopefully better understand what we're navigating in this political moment. One big question we have to try to answer in any struggle is, who is our enemy? What and who are we up against, and why is it important that we answer that question carefully with rigor? So let's be clear. Our problem is much bigger than one ornery, cruel, egomaniacal autocrat. Our enemy is an elite ruling class of greedy, racist billionaires, the richest ruling class in history. One that hoards wealth while millions starve in places like Sudan and Gaza, and tens of thousands live on the streets in cities from Baltimore to Chicago. Our enemies are those who want to go back to the good old days of unfettered white supremacy, Jim Crow universities, unapologetic homophobia and transphobia, and back alley abortions. They are people whose moral compass is so profoundly broken that they have attempted to justify and legitimize on a world stage the genocidal slaughter of over 50,000 people in Gaza, including violent attacks on mosques, hospitals, schools, homes, children, and first responder caravans. We know this. Even though we are up against a ruthless enemy, we also have to understand the US ruling class in 2025 is in deep trouble. We know they're in deep trouble when they have to break their own rules to stay afloat. We know they're in deep trouble when they are fighting among themselves. We know they're in deep trouble when they cannot get their stories straight and when a constant barrage of lies and insults are their go-to comm strategy. We know they're in trouble because they have to threaten to lock up their opposition in order to shut up their opposition.
Yes.
And when they bully, harass, and intimidate media outlets that dare to ask hard questions. We know they are in trouble when they can only look nostalgically at the past in search of solutions for the future, and when they throw even the facade of democracy out the window. We have names for enemies like this. We call them dictators, autocrats, authoritarians, and fascists. And in our case, outright grifters and kleptocrats, and those terms are important too. They are also, in the case of Gaza, the enablers and perpetrators of genocide. These are not insults or epithets, these are descriptors, and they should be sobering.
Yeah.
But also know this, the fascist turn in this country is a sign of weakness, not a sign of strength. In other words, the old operating systems of racial capitalism are no longer working. The New Deal Great Society model is not working. The neoliberal model is not working. And now one sector of the ruling class is looking to all-out fascism as its governing model, with the populist banners of white Christian nationalism, American exceptionalism, and a kind of twisted redo of Manifest Destiny with an exalted vision of settler colonialism at its core. This is their playbook. but it will only play out if we allow it. So here's the thing we have to remember. In their desperate search for a more secure future, in their willingness to break all their own rules, they are still not omnipotent. They are not all-powerful. They are not the demigods they want us to think they are. We are powerful if we organize, and we are. The second point to make here is that we are still at the beginning of this regime change, right? I know it seems like it's been forever. But state power was seized in November, but has not yet fully been consolidated. It should be disturbing news and reassuring news. Disturbing because a lot of damage has been done in just 100 days, but reassuring that we have still time to stop this train. And I want you to believe that. We are not in full-fledged fascism yet, although it is clearly on the trajectory. Our job is to make sure that fascism does not become the new normal. So defy, derail, disrupt, and delay have to be our MOs. In dangerous and tumultuous moments, as Naomi Klein reminds us, there are in fact new opportunities. Opportunities for robust organizing and radical freedom-making. How many of you since the election have had political discussions with people that you never had political discussions with before, right? Neighbors, coworkers, people in the grocery store, the soccer field, the elevator. Keep having those conversations. We have a lot more potential friends and co-freedom fighters today than we had a year ago. This is partly the result of what movement work has done, and it also is an inadvertent gift from our enemies. By attacking all of us on all sides, by attacking humanity and the planet on all levels, this regime has created the possibility of new organizers in every sector, every city, every small town, every campus and workplace. And new voices of dissent are emerging every single day, sometimes from unexpected places, right? Idaho farmers that express outrage at deportations without due process. Town halls in Republican districts that had to be closed down because people were so mad. The president of the sheet metal workers ended a speech recently with a resounding support for his union brother, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And of course, the students at Columbia University who chained themselves to the gates of the university to express solidarity with Mahmoud Khalil and others who've been kidnapped off our streets. The New Haven residents who sat down to stop Ben-Gvir's car when he went to Connecticut to spew some of his racist venom. And even Bernie's Stop the Oligarchy tour, although we wish he would talk more about Gaza and racism. But even the Stop the Oligarchy tour has shown us that people are winnable, that we might not have thought were winnable. And on April 5th, April 17th, on May Day just the other day, tens of thousands of people filled the streets of the nation to say no to what this regime has in store. And we have to make sure that Gaza and Palestine continue to be on the agenda and in the forefront of everything we do. What else? One more thing I want to speak to is about this question of winning. I was at a forum, a very large forum in Chicago recently, and a woman in all earnestness said, she said, I know we say that when we fight, we win, but what about if we lose, you know? And the truth is, we don't always win when we fight, but this is true. When we fight, we always move the needle on freedom. And winning and losing are never absolutes. Yes. We are winning more people to our movement every day, that means we are winning. If we are growing in numbers and clarity and conviction, that means we are winning. If we are finding new reservoirs of courage and new creative forms of resistance, that means we are winning. Yes. If we are building our skills and conditioning ourselves for the next round of battle, we are winning. So our metric of winning has to be calibrated and nuanced. I said before that this moment of disaster is a moment of opportunity, but opportunities can also be missed and squandered. And we can miss or squander this one, so our main challenge, our main assignment in this moment is to organize, organize, organize. And I don't simply mean mobilize for the next election. I mean build a kind of movement that can contain electoral strategies and not be subsumed to electoral strategies. The bottom line is we have to build the biggest tent possible with our fundamental principles intact and without throwing any of our people under the bus. Since I'm a historian, I feel like I should say a little bit about history when my time is probably running out. I want to say something about the importance of naming racism explicitly in this moment. Much of the messaging of the right-wing movement makes no sense, but none of it makes sense without racism, which is the fuel and the accelerant. When they talk about making America great again, what are they talking about, right? They're talking about going back to the bad old days of Jim Crow or even the Confederacy, right? They are talking about marginalizing, oppressing, expelling, and exterminating people who they've deemed non-human, right? So from the very beginning of this country, racial capitalism has relied on racism to enforce its rules. From the bloody massacres and forced removals of indigenous communities to the violent capture and enslavement of millions of African men, women, and children. So it is in fact the theft of native lands and black labor that is the economic bedrock upon which American capitalism was built and which fuels this movement now. White supremacy is serving capital, especially in this moment, as never before. And as Leslie Williams said yesterday, we cannot fight fascism, anti-Semitism, anti-Arab, anti-Muslim racism without also fighting anti-black racism in the US. We have to understand that anti-blackness is a particularly pernicious and enduring feature of the global architecture of white supremacy, and without confronting it head on, we will never win. Hopefully, we don't need to be reminded that the Black radical tradition and the Black freedom movement as a whole have been critical forces in pushing forward this country towards some semblance of democracy, not just for Black people, but for everybody. And as the US Black radical tradition has always been unwavering in its internationalism and deeply committed to Palestinian liberation for over a half century. From the positions taken by the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and the Black Panther Party to the eloquent voices of radical Black queer poets like June Jordan and Audre Lorde, and of course our own Barbara Smith, who is with us here today. Standing in that tradition today are the Dream Defenders, my organization, the Rising Majority, Black for Palestine, M for BL, and every single Black feminist I know or know of, because we understand the need not simply for selective liberation, which is a contradiction in terms, but for collective liberation, which is our only chance for survival.
Thank you. Dr. Barbara Ransby. Thank you. Need time to process. Right, it's incredible. I'm going to turn now to Congresswoman Cori Bush. Let's give it up for Cori, please. Cori, we love you. Thank you. I love y'all back. Across so many chapters of your life, probably every chapter of your life, you have been just a fierce and powerful fighter for justice. And you have also experienced so directly the violence of state repression. Before you were elected to Congress, you were one of the organizers of Black-led uprising in Ferguson demanding justice following the murder of Mike Brown. And you brought every fiber of that activist and organizer mindset and approach with you to Capitol Hill. And in fact, you've often referred to yourself as a politivist. And you often speak about how being anchored in movement helped ground you during your time in office to take actions that we had never seen before, that others would never take, like sleeping on the steps of the Capitol to protect people from eviction. That's an organizer. And the through line during your time in office was such a radical commitment to people and humanity and justice. And that meant that you were unequivocally and without a second of hesitation a leading voice against US-backed genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. Without a second of hesitation, leading your colleagues in the fight for a ceasefire at a time when the entire weight of the Biden White House was against you, and I mean against you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your determination to hold on to your core and your values and all of us while your job meant that AIPAC spent millions and millions of dollars, and it took millions and millions to unseat you. Shame. And throughout every single step of this, you have shown that you are unbreakably committed to speaking out and fighting back against power. So just tell us what you want to tell us about how you continue to maintain your determination. And please take in that we love you and we thank you so infinitely.
Yeah, I didn't know that was going to. I love you back. I didn't realize your question was going to make me emotional. I, first of all, just want to say, oh, sister. This is who she is, just period, y'all. This is who Linda is, just, thank you. I want to just say thank you, first of all, for inviting me to be here. And it is just so you understand how great it is to be in a room of folks who believe what you believe, who believe in humanity, and who understand the fact that you want to fight for it, and then these folks don't believe that something is wrong with you because you want to continue to fight until it's won. So thank you. To Stephanie and to Beth, thank you. And I say that because as for lack of a better word, the onslaught of hate and just all the money and everything that came my way, all of the negativity, all of the lies, lawsuits, cases, all of the things that came my way to discredit me, never once did JVP say, you know what, we got to back off from her for a while. It's going to bring heat on us. You all, JVP, you all stood with me through the thick and the thin. You've been there since day one, and I just want to give you your flowers first. And I don't usually curse, but I've been cursing for 2 days. You all have been so badass. You really have been so badass. And I cannot believe how the courage and the tenacity and the moxie that you all have walked in, even on the Hill, even coming up multiple times. And that has given so much power to me and to, I know, some of my friends. It helped us so much. So I'm going to go back a little bit, but right here, I have to say that when Rashida Tlaib and I, who Rashida is my dear heart, absolutely my heart, I love her. When we introduced the Ceasefire Now resolution and the way that we were treated after introducing that resolution, it reminded me of the Ferguson uprising. And I want to shout out my St. Louis JVP folks who are in the building. St. Louis JVP. Some of those folks were out on the street with us during Ferguson. And it reminded me of that when I remember being out there and being told, oh, well, it's just black people complaining again. Black people complaining. We were saying, like, you're not gonna just kill us. You know, the folks that are supposed to protect and serve us are not just gonna kill us anymore. Like, we woke up. You're not gonna kill us disproportionately in this country and get off with impunity. You know, that was not going to happen anymore. And so, but people were saying, you know, you're just whining. You're whining, you know, go back to work. But so it felt like when Rashida and I and some of our friends, Squad, and some other folks in Congress were saying, you know what, we want this resolution and we want it to be a framework for cities and for states, and we wanted people to be able to organize around it. We want it to be something for groups, and we want to actually see the administration decide to make this their policy. That came back at us. Oh, it's just black and brown people. It's just black and brown folks complaining again. And so I want to say thank you, because when you showed up and you continued to stand, that gave us more fire, because it wasn't just black and brown people showing up, even though we strong, but the people that they claimed that we were harming were standing up saying, no, we rock with them. They're not anti-Semitic, they're pro-peace, anti-war. And so I was able to show up myself. When I was running for office, I said that I would be this politivist, this politician and activist. I wasn't taking off my activist hat to be in Congress. I wasn't going to do that. I wanted to go to Congress as the activist because I wanted what we had out there on those streets, all of the organizing and the heart. I wanted to see that in Congress. And so, but before that, every day walking those halls of Congress, I remembered what it was like to be hungry. I remembered what it was like to feed my children for days and not eat at all and not know where the next meal was coming from. I remember what it was like to sleep in a car and not really be able to sleep because I was afraid I would wake up and one of my children would be dead because it got so cold in the middle of the night. I remembered that. I remembered what it was like to be left for dead after my abusive partner at the time choked me and thought that he had killed me. I remembered that. I remembered all of the things. I remember when police threw me in the air during the Ferguson uprising and I came down and I didn't realize that they had thrown me in the air until I came down on my face on the ground and they stomped me. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the things that I've gone through that got me there. And so I could not just put that on the shelf when I was in a position to be able to do something and speak for people that were going through what I was going through or would. Because regardless of a name or a reputation, I was there for change and I'm still about change. And so although AIPAC thinks that removing me from office stopped something, although they think that they did something great and they set this example, what they did was just cut the little bitty bit of strings that I had that was stopping me from being able to get around and do other things that I could do. And so now, on the night of my election, when I said, AIPAC, I am coming to tear your kingdom down, I meant what I said. Because here's the thing, and I know I'm speaking for so many people in this room, they didn't kill me. I'm still here. They didn't take you out. You're still here. And so because of that, because we're still here, we have so much more work to do, because they messed up letting me live after Ferguson. They messed up letting me live all of those times that they tried to take me out. Every bullet that hit every car, every bullet that hit my house, they messed up by missing. And so because I'm still here, I'm going to fight for Gaza the same way that I fight for St. Louis. I'm going to fight for Sudan the same way that I fight for Haiti. I'm going to fight for Lebanon the same way that I fight for Detroit. And this is the thing, I'm not doing it by myself. I'm doing it with all of you. And so there is no big Cori and little anybody else. I am you, you are me. We're doing this together. And so I just want to encourage everybody in this room. We need to make sure that these folks that claim they have the power, because we got to understand we really have the power. That's why they're fighting us. It's the people who have the power. So I'm going to stop saying I'm speaking truth to power and start saying that power is going to continue to speak truth, because we are power and we're speaking truth. So as I get ready to close, we understand that we've been pushing the United States, that has the federal government, who has a moral and a legal obligation to repair the harm that it has done to Black people in this country, those of us who are the descendants of enslaved Black folks. And the United States also has an obligation to, first of all, to repent for its work and what it has done to Palestinians and to the land of Gaza. And also, it must repair what has happened. It must. So for every bomb that it sent, for every dollar that it sent, for every weapon that it sent, it must reconcile that, and it must come to its knees. This country must come to its knees and reckon with every single life that has been taken because of it. And we will fight for a free Palestine in the midst of whoever the government is, in the midst of whoever is in Congress, in the midst of the money, in the midst of whoever fights us. We will continue to fight, because that's the least that we can do for being on this planet still today. Thank you. Whew. Wow. Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm gathering myself. You can keep laughing. We get to turn to Linda Sarsour. Linda. Where would we be without you? An indomitable author, an award-winning racial justice and civil rights activist, a seasoned community organizer, and you live solidarity. You just are it.
You lead with love, you are a force, and you are a lighthouse for us. And here in the US, as Dima explained so brilliantly, you know, the Palestinian rights movement has been in the crosshairs of this repression for so long, and you yourself have been so targeted and taken so much. It's just an immense amount of attack, and I just want you to know we're at your back, and we always will be. You just are all about protecting others, but we've got you. And I do think, you know, so many more people are noting and experiencing and waking up, as Barbara was telling us, to this reality and to some of these kinds of attacks. And I want to ask you to talk to us about, in the face of that, not just enduring, but what will it take for us to escalate our work for freedom in this?
I'm overwhelmed, to be quite honest with you. And these tears are not tears of surrender. They are not tears of weakness. They are tears of pain. Every day that we live through as Palestinians, as we watch our family members being slaughtered, as we watch children who die quietly from hunger because they don't have even the strength to cry or bellow their pain. And so in this moment, I think about steadfastness, Stephanie, the fact that we still have tears to cry, 20 months almost into a genocide, that I could still feel, that we could still show up, that you could still show up. That is the thing that makes me get up every single day. My people are also worth fighting for. And the Palestinian people are emblematic of the type of freedom we all deserve. And when the Palestinian people are free, we will all be free. And I say that because there's so much harm and suffering all around the world. In the Congo, in Sudan, Uyghurs in China. We could sit here for days and name all the horror and trauma, including here in our country. But the explicit, the overt, the almost unapologetic support for an apartheid regime in 2025, the justification of genocide against the civilian population that was already in an open-air prison, is something that I'm not going to lie down for. And I've been through the attacks for, you all know me. I mean, people, listen, this has been a long time for me. And Muhsin said something that I'm going to say here too. He said, Donald Trump, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of right-wing Zionists. I'm not afraid of AIPAC. I'm not afraid of whomever. Because I'm willing to lose everything that I have for what I believe in. Nothing that I have that is material in this world, not a job, not a car, not a house. I'm willing to sacrifice it all. Because the cause that we are on is worth it. And I want to remind you all today that it's never been everybody. Oftentimes people are looking around, Stephanie, they're looking for other people. In every movement, historically, it's never been every black person that has fought in the civil rights movement. It wasn't every woman that was fighting in the women's rights movement. So we have to understand that sometimes it takes a determined few. And we are those determined few that are in this room. And I always ask myself this question. What's the worst that's going to happen, Stephanie? Somebody may say, Linda, the worst that could happen is you could get assassinated. And I say to people, what makes me more honorable than a Fred Hampton or a Dr. King or a Malcolm X or the 52,000 plus, probably 250,000, but I'm gonna go with their numbers, Palestinians in Gaza who have been slaughtered? What makes me more honorable? What makes my life more worthy than the lives of those before you that were sacrificed so you could sit in a room like here at this convention center? You're the Jewish people. There was a time where somebody decided you didn't deserve to live and tried to erase you. And look at you here generations later. Bold and brave, and not just saying never again, but being never again. Being action of never again. When I organize with indigenous people in this country, I just came this morning from Brazil. They told me welcome home, so nothing happened, just so you all know. So you all take your family vacations, whatever you need to do to relax. If they let my spicy self in here, you're gonna be all right. And when I organize, and many of them are in our movements and some in this room, indigenous folks in Turtle Island, I look at them and I say, what a miracle you are. You're a miracle. You're a miracle. This country was built on your extermination. They did everything that they could to make sure there was not a remnant of you left. But you still survived. And you're still here. And yes, of course, our people get sacrificed. Some of us will be sacrificed along the way. And some of us are going to have to be willing to be sacrificed along the way. Because what I believe is not about me. It's about a Palestinian child in Gaza one day who will be able to play with joy in a free Gaza, in a free Palestine. And even when we organize, even if we don't get to see the fruits of our labor, that's not what this is about. Because I also have an observation, Dr. Ransby, about our movements. We're a movement of instant gratification. Everybody wants to win tomorrow. You all want it. You went outside, and then tomorrow you're like, why didn't the thing change? Because I've been outside. It's not how this works. It's not how this works. This is not about what you're going to experience. This is about you imagining a child 2, 3, 4 generations from now who gets to stand up unapologetically their whole self. And they get to say, my ancestors sacrificed for me. My ancestors were their whole self. So me, I'm trying to be an ancestor. And I hope that I get to see a free Palestine. I feel it. I see it on the horizon, and I tell myself that this is not all in vain. There's no way that these thousands of people have been sacrificed, that we watch the rivers flow of blood for nothing. There's no way. And so I do see freedom on the horizon. And it's going to be dark before we get there. I'm telling you, it's going to be dark. But after darkness always comes light. That's what I know. That's what I go to bed at night, it's dark. I wake up in the morning, it's light outside. The light is coming. The question is, are we willing to stay the course? Because our opposition is going to use every resource they have, and they have an abundance of resources. But what they don't have is values or principles. Those are the things that root and ground you. I come from the olive trees of my grandfather. I'm going to tell you this final story. I went to Palestine 2013. And I've been to Palestine many times. When I went to Palestine in 2013, I saw my grandfather every day carry a lawn chair and sit in front of this metal fence. He had a little thermos, and he would sit for hours and hours looking through this fence. So one day I went to my grandma and I said, what's wrong with him? Why is he sitting there every day? And my grandmother said, ever since they expanded the settlement, His olive trees, his great-great-grandfather's olive trees are now on the other side of the fence. And he sits and he watches them, yearning for the memories of the harvest with his family, that he would go. Because olive trees are part of our families. They are rooted, the roots are so deep down. That's why you have wildfires now, because folks think that you could plant pine trees. When that land was made for olive trees, trees with roots that could endure any type of climate. There is a reason why there's certain types of trees in different parts of the world. And so for me, I think about my grandfather's olive trees. And one day, my great-grandchildren will harvest those olive trees. And that is my vision. That is the thing that keeps me going. And I'll finally say this about the opposition. I feel embarrassed for them, to be quite honest with you. I'm like mortified on their behalf. Because if the best you can do is go after unarmed college students eating ramen for dinner, that tells me everything that I need to know about you. That's where you started. And then you started with the international students, the most vulnerable of the students, the ones who are here without their parents, without their families. We know what you're doing. The playbook is so embarrassing. It's their last gasps. They're doing everything that they can. And I said, bring it. Someone today was telling me that there's a law that they're going to try to pass around criminalizing individuals for boycotts. I promise you when they pass that bill, and I hope they don't, but if they do, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to say, me. I'm boycotting. Get me. Come after me. Because just because something is a law doesn't make it just, doesn't make it moral. And there's got to be some of us that are going to have to be ready to say, I'm not following that law. And that's it. And again, remember that we come from people before us who sacrificed way more than you're ever going to sacrifice. And knowing that, they can take what we have materialistically. But what they will never take from me is the dignity and the values and the principles that my parents taught me. Love, compassion, justice, and solidarity. And I heard you say this, Stephanie, and I'll end with this. They don't have any solidarity. They think they do. They think they have solidarity, but they don't have solidarity. They are outraged by our solidarity, and everything they do is in response to our solidarity. So what I'm asking all of you today is, yes, we haven't stopped the genocide. And trust me, I live with that every day. And it breaks my heart 1,000 times. But there is a purpose in all of this, I promise you. And when you listen to the people of Gaza, they don't ask you, I know they're starving, but they're a people that have a bigger purpose, and they know that. And what do they keep saying to us? Don't forget about us. Don't stop talking about us. Don't turn away from us. And we're going to continue to fight for the Palestinian people, because when the Palestinian people are free, we're all free. And our opposition will be in the dustbins of history, and I can't wait for it, because I'm already putting them in the dustbin right now. They're already in the dustbin. But they will be in the dustbins of history. And remember, in the history lesson that Dr. Ransby gave you today, they criminalized everyone that Dr. Ransby spoke about, from Dr. King to the Black Panther Party to SNCC to the peaceful, Dr. King. All those people that you revere, that we revere in our work, were all criminalized at the time that they were alive. So they can call me what they want. I don't care. Don't ever show me something that someone said about me. I don't care what they have to say, because I know myself. And I don't let my opposition or my enemy define who I am. But I will say that history taught me that when I'm hopefully, after a long life, Dr. Ransby, when I'm 80 years old, when I'm like Roz, They're gonna say that loud ass Palestinian lady back in them days, she was outside. And she fought and she did. And then people will revere me when I'm 80, and I'm cool with that. I don't need nobody to revere me now. Because right now there's a mission, and the mission is justice and freedom for all of our people, and we are going to get it.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, our beautiful, beautiful panelists. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Love you all. Thank you so much. And now to close out the whole shebang. Why'd I have to end on that? It was so close, Gemma. Now to close out our national membership meeting, the JVP NMM song team.
We're going to close this thing out as we started it, which is to sing. So I invite all of you to stand up if that helps you, raise your voice, come close if that helps inspire. There's a few of us song leaders scattered about that can help make this a collective song. This is a song I wrote in 2021, 2022, inspired by some words from Dan Jones of the Freedom Shul of the Poor and Poor People's Campaign, who writes about the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude that left in the mythological story of Exodus. It was not a small group, it was a mixed group, it was a coalition of people across many different identities. And it's a story, a song inspired by some words from our movement elder, Aurora Levins Morales. Red Sea, which ends like this. This time, that country is what we promise each other. Our rage pressed cheek to cheek until tears fill the space between, until there are no enemies left. Because this time, no one will be left to drown, and all of us must be chosen. This time, it's all of us or none. It's been said time and time again that when we gather as a mixed multitude, we are dangerous, we are a threat, and we win. And one of the ways we can do that is by singing together, and I hope you will join me in this. Let's do a little call and response. No one is getting left behind this time. Try that. No one is getting left behind this time. Listen. No one is getting left behind. Your turn. No one is getting left behind. No one is getting left behind this time. Go ahead. No one is getting left behind this time. Beautiful. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. Yeah. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there. We get there together, never get there at all. We get there together, never get there at all. No, 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 no one is getting left behind this time. No, 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 no one is getting left behind. Not this time. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together, never get there at all. We get there together, never get there at all. We get there together, never get there at all. One more time, sing it loud. No one is getting left behind this time. No, no, no one is getting left behind. Not this time. No one is getting left behind this time. What do we do? We get there together, never get there at all. We get there together, never get there at all. Here we go. We get there together, never get there at
Thank you, everybody. I just have a quick announcement. We're going to be taking your badges. You can keep them, just take them off and put them in a bag. We don't want your names facing out as you leave the BCC. There's going to be folks at the doors who will be collecting them. If you want to give them, they'll be donated. Also, our market is open until 3. If you like this shirt, it's there. There's other cute things. There's books. Go check it out, and thank you all for being here.